He was, I think when we did the launch early in the month, I think it was the first time he'd seen it. I hadn't seen it, he hadn't seen a copy of the book.
See as you said it?
Well, yeah.
It's just really...
I'm a full-time, so between that, paying me a little bit, and then hustling. Yes.
He was, I think when we did the launch early in the month. My business in Montreal called for me to unearth information about an enigmatic fellow who could have been a major player in the rising tide of revolution in Quebec had he chosen to do so. And had a few things turned out differently, Montreal in 1970 might have been Beijing in 1949 or Havana in 1959. It was that close, they say. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police unearthed a cache of arms plus a stockpile of dynamite that had been stolen from construction sites. From the outside looking in, it appeared that the FLQ was serious. November 1976. It was just a date scratched on the flyleaf of the book, but it triggered an avalanche of dark memories rumbling through my head. For one, my mother was still alive when the note was written, but she wouldn't be for long. Even though I was nearing my 40th year, orphanhood proved to be as troubling a watershed for me as though I were 4. Oedipal they might have been, my recollections brought back a time when the foundations of my life was as unstable as beach sand, when for over a dozen years I was rudderless, looking mostly backward, trying to hold on to sentiment that was fading. It was the time when I played only a few of the cards dealt to me, the easy ones. Ardent Quebecois wanted nothing to do with the rest of English-speaking Canada, and they began to press for something that resembled independence. What form that would take, complete separation from the other provinces, or just the right to self-determination within a loose Canadian confederation, depended on who the speaker was, and there were many voices. What was clear, however, was that in those days, if you were young, Quebecois, and perhaps a bit angry, you were separatist. I'd come to Montreal looking for a new start. Perhaps in time I would understand what that was if I were patient enough to wait for the arrival of the slow train of wisdom. My journalistic nose told me that this story had all the right ingredients: class warfare, political chicanery, charismatic characters, catastrophe averted, or freedom denied, depending on whom you asked. Although popular sentiment wasn't with the radicals, the FLQ was way too far to the left for most Quebecois. The tinder of the place was dry, and a spark from a leader who had a gift for a jump-starting phrase would have ignited it, the way Lenin had done in St. Petersburg in 1917. But it didn't happen. And part of the reason was the Hamlet-like nature of a man known as Jean-Guy Tessier. Speculation by my contacts in the government and press who followed such things was that at one time this Tessier had his finger on the switch that could have made all hell break loose. The man had a dossier. Did he ever? The CIA might be prohibited from practicing their craft in the U.S., but not in Canada. So they and the locals, the RCMP Special Branch, watched Tessier wherever they could find him, no doubt trading notes. He was one of the most photographed men in North America, probably without even knowing him. Pictures showed a tall man, one who stood head above the others. Unlike his fellow radicals, his hair was trimmed short, and he sometimes wore a mustache that was meticulously clipped, except for his eyes, which had that dark, penetrating quality of Gaelic ancestry. Pictures gave the appearance of one who was, ironically, more English than French. But appearances, as they say, are deceiving, and Tessier's somewhat professorial face told me nothing about his motives or his actions, or most important, his plans. Emerging from the backwoods region northwest of Montreal, he had put himself through college during the sulphurous years when the nation to the south was paradoxically trying to open doors locked by segregation and bomb a strip of Southeast Asia into one continuous crater. Perhaps the sulfur had wafted north, changing the climate in what had been, until then, a socially static French-speaking backwater. When students and working-class francophones became restless, Tessier was already in the middle of it all.